Welcome back to our 10th episode, where we'll be diving deeper into the occupational dimension of wellness. I'm Quinn.
And I'm Drew.
And this is The Year We Got Better.
Welcome back to the podcast. If you're new here, Quinn and I are on a 52-week journey to improve our holistic wellness, and we're taking you along with us.
This week, we are really excited to dive into the occupational dimension. So this is the 7th dimension of wellness. We have been rolling right on through them. And I kind of wanted to frame our conversation with, I don't know if this is a fun fact or just like some maths that I did, but I was thinking about like how much time we spend working. And this is such like an estimate, right? But let's just say you're working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, maybe you take some vacation, and you do that for 50 years of your life. That is, this is crazy. That is 100,000 hours of your life working.
Wow.
So I think that if you were wondering, like I was when I started this project, how can occupational, like that dimension, be such a big part of your wellness? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's the answer for you.
Honestly, it's staggering to see those numbers in black and white on the page, right?
Right.
I think it really makes you, it requires you to kind of take a step back and pause and reflect upon the way that you're spending those hours. And are they contributing positive things to your life? Or are they neutral or are they negative? Because if you're spending so much time on them, and we talk about wellness as a whole, mm-hmm. if the majority of your time or a significant chunk of your time is being devoted to work, clearly you need to make sure that you're putting the energy into it to kind of fill your cup.
Exactly. I completely agree. And I think that kind of brings us to a good starting place of what does occupational wellness mean to you, Drew?
I think that there's often a misconception that you need to have the perfect job mm-hmm. to be happy in your career or your occupation. I personally don't believe that.
Yeah.
I think you need to find something that one can provide for you financially mm-hmm. and help you to meet your obligations
goals.
Well, I'm going to go through them in general,
okay,
right?
Okay.
But I think first you need to meet your obligations, right? To be able to like baseline hierarchy of needs. Mm-hmm. Then I think that you should be able to also hopefully have something that you don't hate doing. Right. Is probably the next requirement, right? Like you don't have to love it, but I think if you actively hate going into work every day, mm-hmm. that's not going to be good either.
For sure not. Again, like 100,000 hours doing that thing, you got to like it at least a little bit.
I think, honestly, if you can just check those two boxes, you're more than halfway there, mm-hmm. in my opinion. I think having something that is deeply fulfilling to you, mm-hmm. something that is incredibly lucrative, these are goals and aspirations. They're not necessarily, at least in my opinion, mm-hmm. things that need to be requirements for you to feel fulfilled in your work.
Definitely. I think it's also worth saying that I agree with you. Like you and I think, Drew, we're on the same page of what occupational wellness looks like. But I also think that for someone listening or just anyone else, like that, those criteria can be different. Mm-hmm. I think for some people, there's more importance placed on, for example, like doing something that feels more fulfilling or mm-hmm. feels more like you're doing good unto the world through your job. So I think that part of occupational wellness, it always goes back to values, but part of occupational wellness is thinking about your values and how they relate to your occupation, and whether your occupation is something where you feel really purposeful and like emotionally or spiritually fulfilled mm-hmm. versus it's kind of a means to an end.
Well, for you specifically maybe, and then also on the whole, how important do you think meaning and purpose is for you to feel fulfilled?
I think that for me, I kind of think that meaning and purpose, like a greater meaning and purpose in my job, is not necessarily something that I expect.
Or it may not be realistic for everyone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
You just might not have the opportunity to be able to contribute 40 hours a week and make enough money to be able to support your family or meet your obligations or yourself.
Right. And also have that job that kind of goes the extra mile in doing something meaningful and fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I also think sometimes those jobs that are meaningful and fulfilling are incredibly tough mm-hmm. and draining. And I'll use the example from my early career of being a teacher, that I do think that was like a fulfilling and meaningful job. It felt like I was making a difference. It felt like I was touching the lives of young people. And I think that's really important. it was also the most draining job that I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a balance, right? Like, yes, I think it is exciting and great if you can have it, like if you can have meaning and purpose, but I also, for me, it's not like a must have or a
Mm-hmm.
non-negotiable. Um,
So on that note, live to work or work to live?
I definitely am in the work to live camp.
Mm-hmm.
I think about this a lot. I was raised, for sure, my dad is for sure a live to work person. And he is one of those lucky people who derives a lot of meaning and purpose from his work. And so I think it's fulfilling to him on many levels.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe if you are a live to work person, it's because you have an occupation or an occupational cup that seeps into those other cups.
I see that. Yeah.
For me, I don't have that. I do enjoy my job.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm checking the basic boxes, right, Drew, that you kind of pointed out. I enjoy my job enough. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes I want to throw a fit and yell at a client, but I don't do those things. And I enjoy it enough. It's fun. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It gets, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it enough to like want to spend 40 hours a week doing it. And I
Mm-hmm.
also am thrilled to clock out at 5 o'clock and focus on life.
And we talk about this a lot with work-life balance, but finding a job that allows you to have the balance and the flexibility to be able to do the things that you want to do outside of your work.
What's your opinion on the work to live versus live to work dichotomy?
I think there's a balance, and I don't necessarily know that it's one or the other.
Okay.
For me personally, I think I skew toward the work to live perspective. However, I think that to feel happy and fulfilled in my life, I'm going to need to have some type of work to keep my mind occupied
Yeah.
and to feel fulfilled at a greater level.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to contribute and create, and that's just kind of like I think the bedrock of my purpose on this earth is to do those things.
Yeah.
So does my job need to be the only thing that gives me fulfillment, and is that going to be the one thing that's going to be my measure of success? No.
Right.
But also, I think that if I only had recreation all the time and,
Right.
and fun and just traveled and did whatever, I do think eventually I would get to the point where I would feel bored or unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a balance of finding something that makes me feel fulfilled to be able to live, and then vice versa.
I think that you kind of raise this interesting point, which is that even though neither of us necessarily fully identify with that like live to work ethos, we both are finding some other dimensions of wellness mixed into our occupational cup. Like, so my job, right? I am a content writer. I have a lot of creative dimension kind of wellness mixed into my job. And also I find my job intellectually challenging and interesting. So I think it taps into those other dimensions. And of course there's a big tie right between the occupational dimension and the financial dimension too.
Yeah, no, totally. So speaking of finances, how do you feel like hustle culture has affected your view of occupational wellness?
I think that I think hustle culture, I could go on a whole rant about this, and I'm going to try not to like go
Please
too
do.
deep. I'm going to try not to get so sidetracked, but I think that hustle culture is a product of late stage capitalism in that like the average person is not paid nearly enough to live what is presented as an aspirational and desirable lifestyle. So I think that there's kind of this contradiction, right? This like narrative that if you, it's the pull yourselves up by your bootstraps narrative, that if you just work hard enough, you can have everything you want. And that is not true. It's not true. And a great statistic that I should have looked up is like how much the average person makes. And the difference between what the average person makes and what it would take to live this aspirational lifestyle that we see splashed all over, TV, social media, etc., like that is a huge gap.
Sure.
So I kind of think that, I do think that hustle culture is really toxic, because what it's basically saying is that to work hard enough, like to get ahead, you need to basically like run yourself into the ground doing more and more and more to try to get like the baseline.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with the baseline aspect of that, but I do agree that like I actually would take the perspective that working yourself into the ground is going to inevitably harm the other dimensions of wellness.
Of course.
And
right?
at that point, I question, is it worth it? Is it really worth it to have X amount more money for the amount of sacrifice that you've had to make for your emotional wellness or your
Right.
physical wellness?
Right.
I don't think it's feasible to balance them all perfectly, as we've said before. So something has to give.
Right. And if you are working, your regular 9 to 5, and then you have a second job, and then you have a third job, and then you have, another side hustle, I think that is where those other dimensions do kind of fall to the wayside. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that if it's something that you genuinely want to do.
I was going to say the same thing. I think there needs to be an intrinsic motivation rather
Yeah.
than an external motivation.
I think that's really well said. Like it has to come from within you, right? Like like let's say you have your 9 to 5, right? It's great. It gets the bills paid. It's fine. But you're really passionate about something else. So you take another job in that field, or you open up, your Etsy store or whatever. I think like that is hustle culture, I think.
Done well.
Done well. Yeah. Done well, done right. But I think that there's also this kind of like darker side of hustle culture that can be really damaging to your overall wellness.
Yeah. So what about on the healthy side of
Yeah.
things? What does professional growth look like in relation to occupational wellness?
That really is the other side of the coin, right? It's like, how can your occupational wellness or dimension kind of lift up your other dimensions?
You don't want to be static for
Right.
30 or 40 years that you're working, but you also don't want it to overtake your life. So what does that level of growth look like in a healthy situation?
I mean, I think it's a great question. And I think it kind of depends on your role and your company. And Drew, I think you have kind of maybe a more traditional like job structure than I do. So how has that played out in your work, in your career?
I think the thing that has helped my career to feel interesting and motivating is that I have found ways to personally evolve along with the work that I do.
Yeah.
I've been able to seek out projects or opportunities that stretch my skill set and also make me uncomfortable at times. I'm forcing myself to consider client types that I haven't worked on before, or working on technologies that I've never used before.
Yeah.
These situations kind of like add to my toolbox over time. And I realize that not everybody has that level of opportunity that I've been presented with. But at the same time, I think it's the thing that's kept me fulfilled in, with the company that I work with for so long, is that I haven't ended up doing the same thing every day for 10 years. I've been able to kind of, what I do on a daily basis continues to shift and change. And that's what's fulfilling to me.
Yeah. Keeps it interesting, right?
Yeah.
It keeps it fresh. I think that there are opportunities for professional growth in a lot of different careers, even, maybe they're a little differently structured than yours, or a little bit differently structured than mine. But I think that taking like advantage of those opportunities and setting yourself up to have some, I think kind of what you're describing is like intellectual and creative challenges, right? That keep you interested and keep you wanting to succeed and wanting to hone your skill set. And I feel like having that is kind of like the beauty of professional growth.
I also think it's very important for you to surround yourself with people who are going to help you to grow. Growth can't just be intrinsic. I think you have to put yourself in an environment where you're going to be exposed to new ideas that you otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to be exposed to. And a great example of this in my career has been in the company that I work for. There's a lot of different disciplines of people who work with me. And one of those that I'm probably the least skilled at is like technical development, right? But in the time that I've worked where I work, I have learned so much. I'm not a developer, never will be, but I'm able to speak in a way that I can now effectively communicate with people who that's their main job. I have a baseline level of knowledge that I never would have had, or a level of comfort in tackling some of these strategic issues that I do on a daily basis, just by being exposed to really smart people who just, again, I didn't even sit down and say, can you teach me how to do this? Sometimes just sitting down and watching and listening over the course of time, you pick things up along the way. And that, I sometimes I think we think about growth as this huge flag planted on the top of the mountain moment where you achieved this next level of growth.
Very concrete.
But it happens in the small moments. I mean, this is true of anything in life, but it's the incremental movement that you make toward something bigger. That's where you grow.
I completely agree. I think that this is kind of something I love to say, but I think your kind of story about your work and about the different types of people you're surrounded with really emphasizes it. That I never want to be the smartest person in the room.
Right.
Right. I think, yeah, there's like a vanity to that, but I think that it is so much, in my opinion, I think you get so much more out of like being, what did they say, like a small fish in a big pond versus a big fish in a small pond. When you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who like have knowledge to contribute and that you can learn from, I think that for me, it's so much more rewarding than, than being the expert, actually. Like, yes, it's great to be an expert in your field, but I think keeping that open mind to say, I don't know everything and I'm excited to learn things. There's a lot of opportunity for that in the occupational sphere.
Yeah. And not just occupational, but life in general.
For sure. Yes. Life tips.
The company that you keep is really important.
It is.
It's one of the reasons I married you.
I think that I feel like I'm always learning something from you, Drew. I think we have really like complementary knowledge where we are always learning stuff from each other.
I agree. So on the tips and tricks side of things, I know we don't like giving like, super easy how to lose 10 pounds in 1 hour type
it's
advice.
Giving like Vogue in the 70s.
Yes, exactly. But what does work-life balance look like for you right now? And what insights do you have to share?
About work-life balance? Okay, well, I have a very unique job situation in that my job is extremely flexible because I work for myself. Essentially, my job is kind of like being a freelancer. It's under, I've created an LLC and I work for myself and my company, but my schedule is really flexible. So I think I've thought at different times like, oh, maybe I want to try this other career path, or should I change XYZ about my job? And I kind of come back to like, part of the reason I love my job is that it's so flexible and I would not trade that for the world.
Yeah, you have a great setup.
I do. So I think work-life balance for me looks like maintaining that flexibility as much as I can. And that doesn't mean, slacking on my job. It just means that I don't have to be sitting at my desk from 9 to 5 every day. And really that doesn't work for me well as a person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do my best work in the moment that I'm ready to do it.
Sure.
And that may not be at 9 a.m. every day.
That's totally fair.
What about you? How do you kind of have that work-life balance going on at the moment?
I think it's always a challenge and it comes in ebbs and flows. Like, there are always busier times for me. And then there's times where things kind of let up a little bit and I feel like I can take my foot off the accelerator a little bit, enough to catch my breath.
Yeah.
I think I'm currently in a period of like pressing the accelerator a little bit more.
You've been really busy at work.
But it's been fulfilling. And I think part of the hard thing with work-life balance, and we're going to talk about burnout in a second, but I think burnout can become inevitable if you never let your foot off the accelerator.
Yes, I agree.
And in addition to that, I think you have to be very mindful of what else is going on in your life on these moments when you are pressing the accelerator harder. Because as I continue to say, and I feel like a broken record, it's impossible to do everything at 100%.
Yeah.
So if you're pushing harder in work and that's fulfilling to you, you're going to need to likely sacrifice a few other things. And then I think it's important for you to recognize how much are you sacrificing, because that can sneak up on you pretty quickly. And then you'll realize 2 or 3 months down the line, like, I've really neglected my physical wellness or I've really neglected my social wellness and now I'm lonely all the time. Like, it's important to check in through these moments.
I think that is really important because, like you said, you might not realize in the moment how much you're sacrificing of those other things, but a couple months down the road, you haven't kept those cups kind of stasis baseline running, and now they're empty.
Yes.
Right. So I think, we talk a lot about like, again, you can't balance everything perfectly at all times. The different 8 dimensions or cups of your wellness are filled different amounts, and that's okay. It's okay if you didn't invest in XYZ dimension this week, but when that becomes a pattern, like, that's where the problem lies.
Totally.
So you mentioned burnout. Can you tell me about a time in your career when you've experienced that?
Yeah, the most obvious example that I can point to is very early in my career. I I think left to my own devices, I'm the type of person who could fully dive into something uninterrupted, and like you'd have to like physically pull me away from my keyboard if
Yeah.
I was really into what I was doing. And early in my career, that was the case.
Yeah.
So I would find myself like after having a long commute, I'd be at work, and I had to work in the office at the time. I would work until like 7, sometimes 8 o'clock at
Oh my
night on my
gosh.
own,
Yeah.
just on my own accord. No one was forcing me to do that. I just
Sure.
liked what I was doing and
Sure.
wanted to keep doing that.
Yeah.
This was a point in my life where I wasn't very self-reflective. So after a year and a half or 2 years of doing that, I suddenly realized like, wait, my social dimension's really, really not being fulfilled right now.
Right.
I'm neglecting my physical wellness. I would try to go to the gym, and then it would be 9 o'clock, and I'd
Right.
still have an hour and a half commute home.
Oh
And
my
I'm like, I'm going to
gosh.
get home at 11 o'clock at this point.
Forget it.
I
And
haven't
you're
eaten
waking
dinner.
up at, 6 a.m.
Yeah.
to make your commute. Like it's too much.
So I think this doesn't, I don't in any way mean to frame this as saying that like being motivated in your job is a bad thing or working hard is a bad thing. Those are great.
Yeah.
Just for you to be able to sustain that level of momentum, it's very important, I think, to keep tabs on what's going on in the rest of your life while you're going through these periods.
I think that the idea of burnout and what you sacrifice when you are all in to the extreme with your job really kind of, to me, underscores the point of the 8 dimensions of wellness in general, right? It's this, and this framework, it's not our framework, but it's a framework that we buy into. Maybe you don't. If you're listening to this podcast, maybe you do. But I think that the whole concept of the 8 dimensions is that you cannot be fully well investing all of your energy in just one or two of those dimensions.
Yeah.
It takes all 8, and it takes that holistic picture. And I think that while your occupational dimension can bleed into some other dimensions, it is crucial to really be intentional about filling all of those 8 cups. And I think that's kind of why burnout occurs, because you get into this pattern of go, pouring everything you have into the occupational cup, and everything else suffers.
Super well said.
Why, thank you.
Well, on that, I think we should shift to rapid fire.
I love rapid fire. It's so fun to
If
me.
you're not familiar and you're new here, we ask questions in short succession. Don't think, just answer. Quinn, question number 1.
Okay.
What's your dream job?
My dream job is to be a novelist. I am working toward it. We'll see, guys. Fingers crossed.
Question number 2, work from home or work from the office?
Work from home. Easy peasy. I would work from home every day. I have a cute little office, and to be honest, I do work from couch often.
Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time. Let's be real.
95% of the time.
Okay, when you're not here, I work in my office.
I like going into the office occasionally.
Yeah.
I like working from home the majority of the time, but I do think that it's like a nice change of pace sometimes just to get a change of scenery. And especially if I'm going to have larger meetings, I don't like working in person when I'm having to just sit on Zooms with other people.
That is like so annoying.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's something to be gained from getting face-to-face interaction with people, and especially when you're working on something very collaborative. There's like a intangible quality that you just can't get it in a virtual setting.
I definitely see that. I think my role is more like individual contributor kind of role. So I think that's why the work from home thing works for me,
Yeah.
because I'm rarely collaborating with others, and I'm a bad team player. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, I have some rapid fire questions for you as well. First off, what did you want to be growing up?
I wanted to be an architect.
I love that for you. You would have been great at that.
I wish it probably is somewhere in my parents' basement, but I remember having an art project in like 2nd or 3rd grade where you had to draw or paint what you wanted to be when you grew up. And I had this vision of myself sitting at this big desk, and I had like circular glasses. I don't know why.
You were so chic.
Yeah, and I wanted to be an architect. I think part of this is my dad is like a very skilled drawer, an artist. And he, like, bless him, used to do like for fun when we were kids. He would like sit down and I would describe what I wanted my dream house to be, and he would use his little like T-square and just
my
like
gosh.
draw it.
That's so cool, and so your dad.
Yeah, it was like a very fond memory that I have.
Oh, I love that. Okay, second rapid fire question. What is one thing that instantly improves your workday?
That's a good question. I think having as few meetings as possible.
Yeah, right.
And I don't mean that because I don't like collaborating with people. I think it's really hard to be back to back and feel like you don't have the opportunity to, one, catch your breath, two, go to the bathroom,
Right.
or three, get the most meaningful part, which is deep work.
Right.
Like, to feel fulfilled at the end of the day, for me, I want to feel like I actually accomplished something tangible. And it's hard to do that when you look back at your calendar and realize that you spent 7 of 8 hours in meetings, and then the other half hour you spent checking email and then eating lunch. So it's just, challenging.
I feel like my pet peeve is, this is everyone's pet peeve, but like a meeting that could have been an email. You're like, what was this meeting for?
Yeah.
Why did we gather here together today?
Well, with that, do you want to transition into the weekly recap?
Yeah, let's do it. So we talked about the occupational dimension today, but as you guys know, we are investing in all 8 dimensions every week, theoretically. Let's see if we did it this week. As always, we start with the physical dimension. Drew, kick us off.
I think I'm going to have the same one as you, but we've continued with our 10K training, which we were off pace a little bit. And the week that we're reflecting on, I think we just started to get back on the bandwagon.
Yeah. So I had kind of had like a cold, and then I was feeling better. And so we restarted our running, and it felt great.
It did.
The next one is the emotional dimension. What did you have?
So for the emotional dimension, I don't have any supporting materials for me right now, but I made some personal resolutions and goals for 2026, as well as my bingo card. We talked about this in our New Year's resolution episode, but that was a great opportunity for some self-reflection for me.
Yeah, agreed. And I think I had the same one that we had done our goal setting. And I think it was also really emotionally fulfilling to do that together, like as a couple. I think that I got a lot of like emotional fulfillment from that, from sitting down, taking a look at 2025, and then also just thinking about what we want 2026 to look like for our family.
I'm excited about it. 2026 is going to be hopefully great.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Fingers crossed. No, it's going to be great. Manifest it.
What about the social dimension for you?
We did a lot of stuff together. So I think, again, we have a bunch of the same things. But we were still like on break this week. So we got brunch with our friend Caroline. We also went to Drew's family like New Year's Eve party, which was fun and lots of delicious food. And then we also grabbed some beers and snacks at a local brewery with some of our friends.
We did. I had all of those same things.
Yeah.
I think it was a very like packed week, but also because we were both off from work and still in that kind of like limbo period between Christmas and New Year's, it didn't feel quite as hectic as it would have.
No, I agree. We like had the time to do those things and to enjoy them without being stressed about like everyday life.
Yes, exactly.
What about the intellectual dimension?
I was busy this week. I finished Into Thin Air, which I've been speaking about for a while.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No, I've been waiting for this. Can you please do your 20-second TikTok book review?
Okay. Let's see. Into Thin Air is an awesome account for people who like adventure. Obviously, it's a tragic subject matter, so be prepared for that. Don't listen to it as an audiobook is my recommendation. I think you need to have a map or something with you to reference the regions that the author is discussing. But if I have learned anything from this book, it's that I don't need to climb Mount Everest.
That was really good. How many out of 5 stars?
I don't want to rate it.
Okay. So not 5 is what I'm hearing.
Not 5, but I don't know how critical to be.
Okay.
It might just not be like my cup of tea in terms of genre.
That's fair. I also like how your review is like, this is an awesome adventure story. And also, by the way, it's really tragic.
Well, I think the story is well told.
Yeah.
The subject matter is like very grim.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's exciting. So you finished that book. Did you have another one? You said you were busy.
Yes, I finished another one, which is I finished a book that you have previously read, which is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. Okay,
this was on my top like 5 books of all of 2025. I loved this book.
Because you loved it so much, I felt compelled to add it to my list, and I really did enjoy it. It took me a little bit to get through, but especially because I read the physical copy and didn't listen to the audiobook version. But I really, really enjoyed it. And there's been many things. I loved the opportunity to debrief and have our own little book club, which I have been lobbying for. And I think we're going to start doing more of in 2026.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for that. I love discussing books with you.
What about your intellectual dimension?
Well, I ended 2025 / into 2026 on a much lighter note of reading. I also read 2 books this week. The first one was The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. It was It was good. I really like a bunch of her other books. I don't know that this was my favorite of all of them, but it was really good. And I think she does a great job kind of like having very authentic characters that feel really real, even though you're kind of in that romance, like spicy genre.
Mm-hmm.
My other book this week was Party of Two by Jasmine Gilroy. I love her. I've talked her up on this podcast before. I think she's fantastic. I mean, like just pick any book of hers and you're going to have a great read. It's guaranteed. But this one was really good. And had some like cameo appearances from characters in some of her other books, which I always think is kind of fun, like a little Easter egg. So yeah, I really like them. And I needed kind of I was looking for a more laid back, like non-traumatizing book to end the year.
Love that.
What about the creative dimension?
I was very busy in the kitchen this week. I made several new recipes that I've not tried before. The first was a gnocchi soup from Half Baked Harvest, super simple. We've had this book for a couple of years and tried some recipes
Christmas a few years ago.
Yes, there are definitely some great recipes in here. That recipe was one of them. And then we also received this book, The 6 Seasons of Pasta by Joshua McFadden.
Yeah, this is a Christmas present from my parents, I think.
Yes, so we made the pomodoro.
It was so good.
It was really, really good.
It was really good. I feel like everyone needs their own little like special sauce, and I think this is going to be our family sauce.
I think so. It was not too difficult to make and very satisfying, and would recommend.
You also made focaccia.
Oh, I forgot. That was from the Dessert Person book. We made focaccia,
which we've showed on the podcast, I think, before. Yeah. So my creative thing kind of goes in line with yours. I assisted. I'm usually the sous chef. Drew is like the main chef, the head chef, if you will. I assisted on our New Year's Eve dinner, making some homemade pasta. That was my job. And then I did not remember to bring this with me, but I did a fun little craft project, making a cookbook for our family.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool. If you read my Substack, I think I put some pictures of it in there, but it kind of has a cute little story. Can I tell it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I think it was when I graduated college, my stepmom had made me this really cool cookbook. And basically, I think she had gotten like a photo album and she covered it with fabric and it ties with a ribbon. It's like really pretty. And she got these recipe cards and hand wrote a bunch of like my family recipes, like her family, like recipes that we ate growing up, and put them in the cookbook. And it was like the most thoughtful gift. And it's just something that I really treasure. And I've been adding to it, and we've added some of like your family recipes and our recipes that we make, and I really love it. But it fits these recipe cards. The thing is, we also print out a lot of recipes. Like Drew and I print a lot of recipes and make stuff from New York Times Cooking, but like also other places. And I was like, okay, some of these recipes I don't need to then rewrite onto a recipe card. So I made another cookbook that is like a 3-ring binder that can fit, 8x11 paper, and covered it in fabric, like did the whole ribbon thing, kind of used my stepmom's one as a model, like of how to do it. And it turned out really good. And I've printed a bunch of recipes and I'm really excited. Like, I think it's going to be honestly something that we treasure for a long time.
I'm really excited about it. We also had fun going to Michael's and picking out fabric for it.
We did. We spent like a long time searching for the perfect fabric. And if you know me, this will not be a surprise, but the outside is covered in Scrabble themed fabric. It's really iconic.
Yeah. And if you know me, that was a challenge for me to accept that.
I know. Drew was trying to pick like some nice aesthetic fabrics. I was like, Scrabble, bright red. Like, we're two different people.
We are.
Okay, that was the creative one. What was your financial dimension?
This was one of the 2 dimensions this week that I did not really do anything. So financial and occupational, both for me, didn't do anything out of the ordinary, but want to put some more emphasis into them in the coming weeks. But what about you on financial?
On the financial one, I made my January contribution to my high yield savings account.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of depositing a certain amount in there each month toward my goal. And I did that.
That's great. What about your
small,
That's awesome. What about your occupational?
My occupational dimension, Loki, you could claim this for yourself too, is taking time off for the break.
Yeah, I had claimed that last week. I don't know if I wanted to do it 2 weeks in a row, but yes.
That's fair. I do think that's like part of work-life balance though, is knowing when to be like, I'm going to step back from this and more so invest in my other dimensions.
And then lastly, what about environmental?
My environmental dimension, honestly, you should say it because you did the most work on this project.
Yeah, coming out of the holidays, we took down a lot of decorations.
Yeah.
And as I'm saying this, I finally completed this. This is like weeks in advance of when we're reporting what we did. But the decorations are finally down.
Yeah. All of them are down. Drew was the MVP. I witnessed and
You
bossed.
helped. No, you helped. You helped clean afterwards.
Yeah, I helped clean. And we also kind of did a little bit of refreshes. I'm not a huge seasonal decor person. I don't feel like I need, a new wreath or a new throw pillow or whatever for each season. But I do kind of like to change it out after Christmas because I feel like we put out some Christmas stuff. So, we put out more springy flowers. And we switched out our Christmassy blanket for our regular blanket.
Yeah.
So, some little stuff like that just felt fresh and new and exciting for the new year.
Great.
I think that's it.
That's it. So as always, feel free to like, comment, subscribe anywhere where you listen to podcasts or follow us on social media.
We can't wait to see you next week. Have a good one.